and I'm going for, let's say, 11 minutes. So how much fuel am I burning?
1.5.
Yeah, about 1.5 gallons. And so I don't have to move this and I go, okay, my next leg is 16 minutes. What is it? It's 2.2 gallons.
You would start at 10.
Start at, what do you mean, start at 10?
Like, when you, like, I don't know, when you go to, like, measure for, like, the numbers on the inside, and see the, you go back to, like, where you were just measuring, like,
Well, okay, so this is, minutes, or, it's either 120 or 12, right? Okay, so if I had a leg that was 12 minutes long, I go to 12 minutes, and my fuel then is on the outside. Whereas when I was doing ground speed, I was going, okay, there's my speed, and that's my mileage is on the outside, so my time is always on the inside. Time stuff is always on the inside. Okay? And so once you set it once, you just keep on rolling around. Okay, how long? Next leg, boom. That's next, all the way through the thing. So you only have to, instead of going, okay, 8.1 gallons times 5 minutes is, what is that? Okay, on your calculator. I got to do the 8.1 gallons times this. You set it, and then you set it once, and then you just roll around the dial and run it. So it can be very, very efficient.
Get my paperwork out. I realized you were getting my phone already.
So what, you record all that boost wheel stuff? And you record
And the female stuff.
And the female stuff.
No, I just
Straight to
forgot.
YouTube.
We'll submit that.
I'd let you know if I did.
We got a whole YouTube channel.
That's
Your face slightly.
Yeah, put the voice scrambler on it with the face.
yeah.
Who wants to play with females anyway?
Like I say, I'm perfectly happy with flying with it.
Don't even get me started on the blacks.
Okay, we've dealt with a lot of stuff since the last quiz, and particularly with VOR, we talked about ADF and NDB and VOR procedures, all those kind of things, and talked about GPS as well. I barely touched GPS in this quiz. We'll probably hit that harder in quiz 3. Lots of the nuances we may have to go over some.
You said ADF, what else?
ADF, NDB, which is the same thing. So NDB is the nav aid. ADF is what you read in the airplanes. Okay, and then we use the different instruments: the RMI instrument, HSI instrument, and the CDI with a little pendulum swinger do for thing there. But so there's going to be interpretation on all of those kind of instruments. Yikes! Where you get the picture and it says what radial are you on, what DME, what radial DME, or where are you located, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so there are various things. So you'll see a picture and it'll say what's your position. Give you a bunch of choices. Okay. Know what is the determination for VOR station passage?
More time. Determine the station.
Like when you pass over, here's VOR, you fly over it, when do you know you're past it? Okay, there's a specific thing that you will see, and it is the thing that the FAA will be looking for you to say, this is when I get station passage. Okay. Hit this on the last one, we're going to hit it again. Cross-checking VORs, what's the tolerance between VOR1 and VOR2? On a CDI, full-scale deflection, what are the dots worth, and all that kind of stuff. So you got to be able to determine what that gotcha is. Given a whole bunch of HSIs, again, you need to be able to position. I'll tell you, this is where you're located. Which HSI shows me that that's where you are? Out of like 6 of them. So you'll have to look at 6 different instruments and go, this one is the one that I'm at.
So this
a couple of questions like
would be a pretty long test.
Yeah, actually, 33 questions.
It's going to be because of the pictures and everything. I'm saying, like physically, it's going to be
7
rather.
pages.
Yeah, it's going to be rather long.
Okay. Yeah. The physical aspects of the VOR, radials and all that kind of stuff. How those things work. On a VOR, you got the knob on a RMI that you twist. It's the OBS knob. It's the course selector. So you flip that thing around, and how many times is your needle going to center up? You flip that thing around 360 degrees, your needle will center up. arcs, and we talked about arcs, so arc maintenance, so like staying on an arc, what do you gotta do to stay on an arc? Where should the, things be looking? Where, just your position awareness on an arc. Procedure turn information, and why are there procedure turns out there? So that kind of instrument approach. And obviously procedure turn has a barb, and what the barb means and how you fly that. We talked about holding. So in holding, I give you directions, you need to be able to draw me a pattern. And then I will draw a pattern, and I will tell you what heading you hit the fix at, and you need to tell me which way to turn. So you need to be able to draw a pattern, and so instead of being double jeopardy, I decided to divorce those two things instead of making you maybe make a mistake because you drew the pattern wrong, and then your entry would be wrong too. I will give you a holding pattern that is correct, and I'm going to say this is your heading when you hit the fix. Which way do you turn to enter holding? So you need to know how to draw it and how to enter. Okay, so all those rules involved there. Visual and contact approaches. Know the difference and what's going on with those things. ILS approaches, when you need to do a missed approach. I think we did that again on first quiz, but we're doing it again in a little bit different way. Your descent gradient on an ILS glide slope, what's that based on? And we talked about that, particularly that last page of the instrument approach book and the little graph there, table there in the back of the book. You will not have access to the back of the book, by the way, but you will, then you don't need it, but you need to understand the concepts. Okay, some GPS questions, your equipment required on your airplane. If you've got, a WAS-capable GPS system, you need certain equipment. If you've got non-WAS-capable GPS on your airplane, you need other equipment requirements. Okay? You need to be able to know the depth. We talked about the basics of altimeter and airspeed indicator stuff, so static, pitot-static system. What happens if you lose the pitot system? What happens if you lose the static system? What do the indicators actually show you? Okay? And on top of that, to include things, remember there are some gotchas if you are flying from a altimeter setting of 2992 to an altimeter setting of 2980. Your altimeter, if you fail to reset it, will give you erroneous indications of where you really are, right? That's for you to figure out. High to low, look out below. Hot to cold, look out below. Okay? Those two nuances you need to remember, but a little bit more than that. For instance, if I set, in the Colesman window, 2992, and then I rotate it to 3092, how much is my altitude going to change on my altimeter? My needle will actually move, right, when I roll the Colesman window. So know what each increment will give you because you're going to need to be able to figure that out. All right. Okay. Again, so if you're doing something, your static port's ice over, what is your altimeter going to do? What is your VSI going to do? All that kind of stuff. Magnetic compass, we talked about that stuff. There's errors involved in magnetic compass for dip errors and all that kind of stuff. But basically, in just looking at a map, you've got geographic north, the North Pole, and you've got magnetic north. There's a difference between those, what's that called? And then also some of the errors involved. So I'm heading west and I turn to the north or south. What happens to my altimeter? Does it go lead? Does it lag? Does it not do any? Is there no error involved at all? There's rules, there's slides on that. And it's also in your climb. It's also in a million other places. Attitude indicator precession occurs. We hit that again today. What errors can occur based on, if you accelerate or decelerate, your attitude indicator can precess and show an error, climb, descent, and all that kind of stuff. talked about today also the primary and support things that the FAA likes to talk about. So you need to be able to know what instruments are primary, what are supporting. Unusual attitudes we talked about today also again, and I'm highlighting a couple things there. Again, like an ADF, RMI type of thing, you've got a fixed card, RMI, fixed card ADF, sorry about that. And you need to be able to determine, from where the pointer is to what your actual mag bearing is to that station. Because you got to do some math on that one. Remember that one is, so your relative bearing, which is what you're reading off the instrument, plus your mag heading will equal your mag bearing. So you need to be able to do that. There's a couple of those actually. And then there's intercept stuff. So I'll give you a picture. It's going to be a fixed card ADF, and then you're going to need to determine what intercept heading you need to pick to intercept a given course. That's fun, huh? That should do it.
That
I'll
made
see you in the office now.